Hello world, I have great news. I plucked that weird white hair out that came out of nowhere. I didn't notice that until I was editing and I was like, no way, I'm refilming that whole video. So I don't know what's gonna pop up in this video. It's gonna drive you and me nuts when I edit, but we'll see. But hopefully you've played The Last of Us 2 at this point, or you don't care about spoilers. This is my Last of Us 2 spoiler talk. That is a spoiler warning. If you don't want spoilers, if you weren't on the internet for the past weeks and you don't know what the spoilers are at this point, well, I'm going to talk about them here. That's your one and only warning. Okay, spoiler warning's done. You know what's funny about that? Because I never saw any trailers for The Last of Us 2 past the teaser trailer. The point is, in my video where I was talking about the teaser trailer, someone was like, have you heard the rumor that maybe Joel's dead and that he wasn't actually there? It was just Ellie imagining him. And I was like, well, that would be stupid. They wouldn't do that. Lo and behold. So yeah, pretty early on in The Last of Us 2, Joel dies, gets just a golf club to the head, just bam, Abby kills him. Abby definitely has an axe to grind against this guy. And now Ellie's out there on her quest for revenge, and yeah, when Ellie's story comes to a head, she meets Abby, and Abby's like, you killed all my friends, and then now you play as Abby, and now you're leading up to that point, so both stories are gonna converge, which was really, I'm not alone. That was just tough for everybody. It's, as much as it's like, oh, perspective, villains and heroes, it's just a matter of perspective, which is pretty much the theme of Captain America's Civil War. For the first few hours of playing as Abby, I was just like, I don't care, you killed Joel. Which I know Joel is no saint, and he was never illustrated to be. He was always very flawed. You knew he was a villain to some people. You knew he did some fucked up shit. You saw that in The Last of Us 1, when that dude comes out in front of their vehicle, he's like, oh, I'm hurt, and Joel's like, he ain't even hurt. He tries to drive right through him, there's a big old fight. After the fight, Ellie's like, how'd you know that? And Joel's like, we've all done stuff like that. I've done stuff like that. Right there, you're like, whoa, Joel's done some dark shit. Everybody in the zombie apocalypse is an asshole to somebody. That's just kind of, I'm not saying dead. I'm saying no matter who you are, you're an asshole to somebody. There's somebody out there who thinks you're an asshole. People out there think I'm an asshole. Just something you either said, did, whatever. We're all an asshole to somebody. So in a world that's really kill or be killed, life and death, I feel like those grudges would be, well, yeah, but I want that person dead. That's just kind of how zombie apocalypse works. It's like the old adage goes, you either die a hero or you live long enough to see things more clearly. I mean, even Bach, the Ferengi, wanted revenge against Jean-Luc Picard because he blamed Jean-Luc Picard for his kid's death. So, I mean, even that's right there. Picard is a villain to someone else. And then shortly after that, Picard was canceled and thrown out of Starfleet after Twitter found out that he cheated in Ossigan at the Domjot table when he was a cadet. Didn't happen, but totally would happen. Oh, now I'm laughing at all the stories you could make about good guys who are bad guys to someone else, you know? Imagine a Star Wars story where this person's going after Wedge and Lando, and he kills Wedge and Lando, just bludgeons them with a pipe. Or a galactic golf club. And someone's like, why'd you do it? And he's like, because my dad was an independent contractor on the second Death Star. He was just a construction guy working on it. And Wedge and Lando blew it up. They're monsters, I tell you, monsters. And the point of this is, I feel like The Last of Us 2 is one of those all your eggs are in one basket kind of scenario, you know? Like, the whole thing rests on the premise, the fact that after Joel is killed, and Ellie is just lining the path with bodies. She's crawling over these dead bodies she's creating to get to her goal, to get to her prey. And then the flip happens and you play as Abby, and Abby is humanized. It all rests on the premise that sticks the landing for you. Because if it doesn't, the whole thing just kind of crumbles like a house of cards. Really, the game doesn't have any other tricks up its sleeve. It all rests on that. Fun stealth kill gameplay, sure, but in terms of impact, it all rests on that. And that's what I mean when I say, I think I said this in my spoiler-free review. I know I went into more detail and then I cut that out. It was like, I mean, as much as I said you play as Abby, I don't want to fly too close to the sun when it comes to spoilers, which I said that because it is the game. It's kind of like Metal Gear Solid 2. You play as Raiden in Metal Gear Solid 2, but in the end, Raiden still didn't kill Snake at the beginning of the game. I don't know, that would have left a different taste in my mouth for Metal Gear Solid 2. But really, The Last of Us 2 that we got feels like it should have been The Last of Us 3, and there should have been another game that took place before this game called The Last of Us 2. I mean, I don't know exactly the plot I would go for this, but, you know, make it something like, if you want Ellie to go out on her own, she does, or Ellie and Joel go out there on their own. You see more of, you know, the factions out there that you kind of saw with Abby, but geographically speaking, doesn't take place in Seattle yet, because that will be in The Last of Us 3. But let's say Joel and Ellie are mercenaries, and this one faction out there's like, hey, help us out with this other faction, and we'll give you a spice of Arrakis. And they're like, all right, we need some spice. The spice must flow. Okay, let's go do it. Let's do this job. So they're doing the job, and you get wrapped up in these other factions, and, you know, it's an interesting post-apocalyptic world, and you can have interesting lore. I'm just word vomiting, you know, spend some time fleshing it out. But the point is, they come across that facility that Ellie then goes into, and she finds the recording like she did in the flashback. I mean, The Last of Us 1 left off with Ellie going, was there a cure? And Joel's like, no. And then bam, it's over. And we're all like, whoa, that's a cliffhanger. What's gonna happen? Flashback. So have fun getting filled in with a brief flashback. So you could have seen that happen in The Last of Us 2. And then Ellie gets pissed off at Joel and goes off on her own. And then when she goes off on her own, that's when you run across Abby. Maybe you can play as both of them, so you get attached to Abby and make Abby awesome and be like, whoa, Abby's really cool. Point is, after half of the adventure, you had more gameplay with Joel and Ellie. And then the next half of the gameplay, you have Ellie and Abby, and you're bonding with all of them. At the end of the adventure, Abby finds out that Ellie knows Joel, and then she's like, I gotta go. And they cordially depart, and then Abby goes to her friends. She's like, I know where he is. And then bam, into the second game. You're like, what? Wait, what? What, does she hate Joel? Why does she hate Joel? I don't know, I just feel like getting bonded with a character in the second game who will then kill Joel in the third game, it's more conflicting. That would have messed me up a lot more. Because I was like, no, I'm on Ellie's side. Fuck this girl. She killed Joel, who's, I know, no saint. Doesn't matter. Joel showed growth in the first game, and I got attached to the Joel-Ellie dynamic. And the ending of this game, it almost makes sense until it doesn't make sense. I heard there's an original ending where I didn't look into it too much. The ending's, it's making sense. I mean, Ellie doesn't get her revenge, but she still has a life, you know? She has a good life. She has her girlfriend's kid, she's a stepmom, they're on a farm, they have little sheep, it all looks like it works out. Then Tommy's like, hey, we found her, we found Abby, and Ellie has PTSD, and she's like, I gotta go find her and face her again. After we just kind of agreed, she was like, don't ever let me see you again. And you're like, all right, we're parting ways. Now I'm gonna go find her, and we're gonna part ways again. But I feel like it tried to be like Pulp Fiction, where you got two enemies and someone was in a really shitty situation. It's like, we're gonna go our separate ways. Well, after we fight, and then we're gonna go our separate ways. I heard there was an original ending, and I assume the original ending is Ellie actually does kill Abby. I feel like that would have been better, because after Ellie doesn't kill Abby and then has her life, and then goes and doesn't kill Abby again, she goes back, missing a couple fingers, and definitely doesn't have that life anymore. Like, her girlfriend has left with the kid and everything. I just personally feel like it would have been better, not optimal, but better if she did kill Abby and then went back, and same scenario, everyone's gone. So it's like, you got your revenge, but at what cost? Point is, not only is Neil Druckmann a cat person, he's the most jaded person ever, apparently. I mean, at the very least, if they had just ended it on the farm, I feel like there's a great opportunity there for Ellie to mentally, at least posthumously, reconcile with Joel. Because she never got to, you know? She was like, well, I hate your guts for killing all the fireflies, and my life could have meant something, but there's no cure now, which I'll get to that in a second. But now she has a kid with the woman she loves. And I just, does she not understand now? Come on, I feel like when she's looking at that kid, she could be like, I totally get it, because I couldn't just leave this kid to die. I feel like she can understand that now. But the game never gave me that. I never got the feeling that she understood and made that connection. It is interesting that the point of this game, the reason they have you play as the person who killed Joel, is to illustrate the power of perspective. And the game never actually leads Ellie to a point where she understands Joel's perspective as to why he saved her life. Thus, there is no cure. Even after she becomes a mom, that's just a weird thing to me. And when it comes to the cure that could have happened, that most definitely did not happen, because Joel put a stop to that, I get Ellie's anger at that. I get the fact that she feels like her life will never amount to as much as it could have if a cure had come from her, and she gave her life for that. However, I pose the argument Joel was 150% in the right. Not just personally in saving Ellie's life, but just in terms of humanity, how human beings work, and what a cure would have meant to the ones who had it. No, this group of douchebags are going to be the only group that has a cure in a world where that could be very advantageous, and you can hold that over people and use it as a power play. You think this isn't going to be a power play? Look, when it comes to human beings, when it comes to the human race, there is a constant. And that constant is whenever we get something that can help us, whenever we get a new technology, our next order of business is to weaponize it. Whether it be the tools that our ancestors used in the caves, gunpowder, nuclear energy, or social media. It can help us, and after we learn that, we weaponize it, always. A cure in the lawless, apocalyptic setting of The Last of Us would have been no different for those who have it. They're going to use that to establish themselves as the greatest force, and they're gonna cherry pick soldiers and make them immune, and then they're gonna have an enormous army that's completely immune, and they're just gonna lord over everyone. So yes, Ellie, when you say my life could have meant something, what you mean is your life would have been given to create a superpower that's far worse than anything you've ever seen in your life. So yeah, you should thank Joel for doing what he did, because he did in fact help out the world and save your life at the same time. Which is why when I saw that comment, when I was like, oh, killing the dog sucks, people were like, well, you're fine with killing humans, but not dogs. Look, this is the math right here. We're going by the math. That's the math. Because, yeah, this is an immutable fact. You don't see them fucking each other over for a goddamn percentage. I took that line from Ellen Ripley. That is such a great line. Or at the very least, give us an ending with a little bit of gratification. I just don't feel like there's gratification in the ending. Maybe I'm just a little more Old Testament, where I'm like, nah, you get your revenge. It's like the phrase, at the very least, you know, at the very least, give Ellie X. It never happens. She never gets any of the very leasts, you know? At the very least, have her get her revenge. Doesn't happen. At the very least, don't have the people she loves leave her. Doesn't happen. Like, Ellie's just, she's in the worst spot at the end of this game. She doesn't get anything. 20 hours of gameplay is just sitting in an abandoned house because everyone left me, and I'm just holding my dick alone? Fuck you. Cherry on top, let me at least be able to play the guitar. Nope, guess not. Can't even play the guitar. Quite literally, by the end of this game, Ellie would be better off dead. Requiem for a Dream had a happier ending than this shit. It just all seems to be done for the sake of shock. Like, shock and depressing equals profound. And they're not the same thing. You can have a depressing ass ending, that's fine, but at least have it make sense with the characters. I don't buy that Ellie would have left the farm in the first place, and after she did, I don't buy the fact that she wouldn't have killed Abby. And the point is, I leave you with the footage. This is actually my gameplay footage of when I was playing as Abby, and I'm going to the Ellie boss fight. This is actual gameplay footage of me facing Ellie for the first time, and this is what I did. Yep, stood there. All right, Ellie, get your revenge. One more. All right, Ellie got her revenge. The end.